This is Majinoni, and here's the first half of Week 2's #1 titles. Now, so far, I'm not overly impressed with the quality of the books, but let's take a look. Resurrection Man #1. For those of you who don't know, Resurrection Man is a failed comic that came out years ago, and I'm really surprised they're bringing this story back. I mean, in a nutshell, basically, this guy dies. He keeps dying and dying and dying, and he's reborn with superpowers. And he's got people looking for him, like there's this angel person here, or whatever she is, because she's like, I'm here to reclaim your soul's past due. And then later on at the end of the book, there's two other girls, these two over here, that are also on his trail, at least from the previous story. In this issue here, it's your standard template of let's introduce the character, let's introduce what's going on. No creativity in here. The one thing I did find odd is, okay, they're in the airplane, she's like, oh, they're going to die anyway, so it's no big deal. She turns into this creature-like thing. And what happens is the airplane gets breached, the top part, but yet, you see an air marshal just standing there shooting, and you don't have the air sucked out. I mean, maybe they're going low enough so it doesn't matter, but, it kind of doesn't make sense later on, like right afterwards, when he busts the door, and then it happens. Then everything gets sucked out. It's a little editing if that was the case, where this is an editing mistake, just for the sake of story, I just wish that they would clean this thing up. Especially since this is a #1, and DC has put so much behind this, and I don't know why they released this book. You should have put out Power Girl. Power Girl would have sold more titles or issues than this bad book. So I'm not happy with it. Green Lantern 1 takes place right after all the other Green Lantern nonsense that happened, where, Sinestro gets the ring and Hal gets demoted back to being a human. Now, Hal learns, I should say, that life is a little bit more difficult without his ring. He's got past due bills, he's got rent that he's got to pay, and it kind of makes me wonder, too, how was he getting paid before as a Green Lantern? Because technically he'd still have things to, pay for. Maybe the Justice League paid well or something like that, or the Green Lantern Corps paid well. Who knows? But anyways, I think I'm not overly impressed with this title. I think, if anything, the quality of the writing just slumped a little bit, and I think there's a lot of, for me at least, a lot of awkward art scenes. Like you have Hal jumping in across 2 apartment buildings, because he thinks that a woman's getting beat up, but it's actually a movie. Like this sequence here is kind of awkward looking, and it happens, like this panel is just awkward, and I'm like, really? This is the best you could have done? I think you could have done better than the art that's on this. Carol still has the ring, but she just refuses to use it. And one thing that was kind of an interesting twist, I guess you can say, is, Hal asks her out to dinner, and she's thinking it's a date, but then, turns out, and then she starts, the way the Hal's talking, it sounds like he's going to propose to her, but he just wants her to co-sign, and that just pisses her off, because, what her expectation for the evening was. Now she knows there's no romantic intention, that she's just being used. At the very end, Sinestro comes and basically is like, hey, you want to be Green Lantern? Do what I say. I mean, we already knew Hal was going to be a Green Lantern again. Part of me is kind of surprised they're bringing it out so quickly. I think that Hal's storyline, where he has no money, he has no job, is a lot more interesting for right now, and I think they should have run with that. So we'll see what happens. Grifter #1, I had high hopes. I really did. But it's not filling me with the good feelings that what are those things? Not honey, whatever, cupcake, not cupcakes, but honey buns. Honey bun would normally fill you with. Basically, it's grifter, but it's not grifter, like, the wildcat grifter. At least from what I can tell so far. At least, the grifter that you would expect. He's basically a con man. He gets in trouble. This is another airplane thing, where he's hearing voices, and then apparently some alien type creature was trying to take over his body, and he resisted and got away. And this happened on an airplane, so they think he's tried to actually blow up the plane type thing. But at the very end, he dons his mask, so we'll see what happens. I said I had a high hope, and it didn't live up to that high hope, but I'm hoping maybe in the next 2 issues it'll pick up. I'm hoping. Legion Lost. This was actually a disappointment. A huge, spectacular disappointment to me. And I don't mean that in the terms of writing, I don't mean that in terms of the art. To me, it's like this. When I read the Legion Lost story, original one, where they were sent up into another part of the deepest part of the galaxy, and they're like, oh my god, I don't know how we're going to get home type thing. And people got killed along the way. This time, they're on Earth. And, they're obviously back into time. And then they're trying to get this guy before he releases a plague. He releases this viral infection, and they just go. They go, he released the infection, but we're going. And then they're not able to quite go. There's malfunction. The bad guy resists. Things blow up. And then now they're stuck on Earth. So keep in mind, Legion's not really lost, because they're still on Earth. They're in the wrong time period. And it's one of those things where it's like, there's an element of danger, but the element is reduced significantly, because you don't have the threat of an unknown galaxy where you don't know if you can get food, you don't know if you can get water, habitable planets, are you going to get blown away from an alien armada? All that's gone, because it's planet Earth. Plain and simple. The only thing they have to deal with is an infection. Which, of course, now they're all infected. And one's dead for sure, and it's presumed maybe another one might be dead. And the one who got killed, I was kind of disappointed, because that character was kind of cool. But, it might turn out to be okay, though. I think once I get over the initial, why did you go to Earth mentality, I might like it a little bit more. Deathstroke. I don't know. It's just keep in mind, it's a violent title. It's gloriously violent. I enjoy the violence. There's beheadings and there's shootings, and there's a sense of mystery to it. The art's not bad, not great, but it's not too bad. But I think it's missing. I was going to say it's missing something, but I take that back. To me, it's exactly what I thought it was going to be. And it's basically just Deathstroke killing things and, being the best that what he can be type thing. And until they can do something to prove that he actually deserves to have a title, then I don't think I'm going to be that enthused about it. Because, to be honest with you, yeah, the violence part's fine, but I read manga, and the violence in manga is 1,000 times better, and without being as graphic. So it needs to step it up a little bit. But I think people will like it though, because it's it fills a niche that people will enjoy. But for me, I want more. I want this to prove to me that it deserves its own title. Batman and Robin. So far, this has been the best book that I've read out of the stack. I still have more, but to me, the one thing that I was worried the most about was with the original Batman and Robin book with Tim Drake and Dick Grayson and Damian, was how they bickered all the time. I loved that. It was just it's a nice part of the story that it brought a change, and I was concerned that was going to be gone, and it's not. Damien shows no respect for Bruce whatsoever, shows no respect for Bruce's parents, and it's awesome. I hope they continue that. Now, what's going on is you have, while Damien's being insubordinate at times, you also have a guy going around and he's killing Batman, part of the Batman Inc. timeline. And his next target at the end of this is Bruce Wayne. So I'm really curious to see where this is going. I do like it, but I didn't, other than the one part I was worried about, I didn't have any, I thought that this was going to be good. I had no worries that this was going to be a disaster. Because, this is one of their premier titles, so they're going to actually make sure that this gets a lot of love and attention. So far this is the glowing jewel on the stack. And now we have Hellboy, Agent of Shade. And that's basically what this is. It's basically, even though it's called Frankenstein of Shade, it is Hellboy in every sense of the word. Just replace Frankenstein with the, demon type thing. You have monsters, and, for those of you who haven't read Frankenstein, Agent of Shade, who doubt me that this is Hellboy, DC's version of Hellboy, I will prove it to you beyond a shadow of a doubt in just a second. Now, a town basically gets overrun by monsters, and Shade is sent in to take care of business. The one thing that's interesting about this book is Ray Palmer's involved with Shade, and he's like the resident scientist. So what he basically does, you have this floating base, and what you have to be teleported into the base and shrunk to get into it, because the base is actually really tiny. So I thought that was an interesting twist. I was kind of curious to see what they were going to do with Ray Palmer anyways. Now, there is some violence. Granted, it's not as gory or horrific as I would have appreciated it to be, but there's a little bit here and there. Seeing a little bit here. Now, this is where I'm going to prove to you this is Hellboy. Right here. Frankenstein is joined by the Creature Commandos. And look what they have right there. Gee, that doesn't look like anybody from Hellboy, does it? Not at all. Not at all. Somebody who's aquatic who wears a fishbowl on their head. Yeah. I knew there was a reason why they were using the Creature Commandos a while back with the Justice League, the Brightest Day crossover thing. So that's why. It was just getting you guys familiar with it. So this way, it's like, whoa, look at that surprise. Hellboy has a crew now. The book is okay. It's the art's quirky, and I like that for this type of title. I like it. I don't want it clean. I want some, some interesting panels. I want some interesting looking monsters. I don't want it looking pretty. So it's doing a great job for that. I don't know how long I'm going to read this thing. It's iffy. I'll probably give it a few. Well, I'm going to commit to 3 issues because I can get 50% off 3 for sure. And then I think after 3, I'm going to look at what I need to drop, and then whatever I need to drop, that's when I'll probably stop doing the 50% off if they still do it. So, let's put it this way. This is your best bet. People will like this. I have a feeling people will like this. The only thing I can say is it's not as bad as Hawk and Dove. And Legion, while this might actually turn out to be a really good title, nobody's going to read it because it's the Legion of Superheroes, and nobody buys Legion of Superheroes. So I don't know why they decided to put 2 titles out there. And this is, I think, this needs to go on a wait and see list. Anyways, that's my reviews for what do we have here? 7 of these titles. I still have to read some more, so if I finish them tonight, I'll read it and I'll do a review. But I will say this, Bloody Monday was awesome. Awesome. Better than all of these. So, I'll do a review of this later. So, until next time.